Imagine lying down in your bed tonight, closing your eyes like you've done thousands of times before, and never waking up again. No warning, no pain you remember, just silence. This happens far more often than people realize. Every single year, hundreds of thousands of adults over the age of 50 suffer heart attacks and strokes while they are asleep. And here's the most frightening part. For most of them, the cause wasn't rare disease, bad luck, or genetics alone. It was something they were doing every night, believing it was harmless. In the next minutes, I'm going to show you the nighttime habits that quietly turn sleep into one of the most dangerous moments of the day for your heart and brain. And more importantly, I'll show you what you can change starting tonight to dramatically reduce that risk. What you're about to learn is not exaggeration. It is not fear-mongering. It is medical reality. My name is Dr. Michael Turner, and I've spent decades studying cardiovascular health in adults over 50. If that's your age group, this message could literally save your life. Here is something most people don't realize. Nighttime is when your cardiovascular system is at its most vulnerable. According to the American Heart Association, nearly half of fatal cardiovascular events in older adults occur between 1 a.m. and 6 a.m. That's not a coincidence. During sleep, your body is supposed to enter a protective mode. Your blood pressure naturally drops. Your heart rate slows down. Your nervous system shifts into repair mode. Your brain clears toxic metabolic waste built up during the day. But when certain habits interfere with these natural processes, sleep becomes a physiological minefield. Tonight, you'll learn why heart attacks and strokes happen so often during sleep, the most dangerous nighttime habits after age 50, and a simple routine that protects your heart and brain while you sleep. Everything I'll explain is grounded in real medical research explained in a way you can actually use. Let's begin. The first deadly nighttime habit: eating late and eating heavy. Many people don't see this as dangerous. They think, I'm just having dinner. But after age 50, when and what you eat at night can determine whether your heart rests or struggles for hours. When you eat a large meal late in the evening, especially after 8 or 9 p.m., several dangerous things happen simultaneously. Your digestive system demands increased blood flow. Your heart must pump harder to supply your stomach and intestines. Your blood pressure rises instead of falling. Your metabolism accelerates when it should be slowing down in preparation for sleep. In simple terms, you force your heart to work overtime at the exact moment it needs rest the most. A landmark study published in the European Heart Journal followed over 100,000 adults for several years. The findings were clear and deeply troubling. People who regularly ate late dinners had a significantly higher risk of nighttime heart attacks and strokes compared to those who ate earlier in the evening. Why does this happen? Late digestion raises triglycerides circulating in the blood. It increases arterial inflammation throughout the cardiovascular system. It disrupts the natural and essential drop in nighttime blood pressure. And there's another danger most people completely overlook. Going to bed with a full stomach dramatically increases the likelihood of acid reflux. Acid reflux doesn't just cause discomfort or a burning sensation in the chest. It can stimulate the vagus nerve and trigger dangerous heart rhythm disturbances, especially in older adults whose cardiac systems are already more sensitive. I once treated a 68-year-old patient who had eaten heavy late dinners for decades. It was simply her routine. One night, she suffered a heart attack in her sleep. Her heart had been under constant nighttime stress for years, quietly accumulating damage. And that night, it finally reached its breaking point. The good news is this: correcting this habit brings almost immediate benefits. Earlier, lighter dinners allow your heart to truly rest at night. Blood pressure stabilizes naturally. The risk of nocturnal cardiovascular events drops dramatically. Now let's move to the second deadly nighttime habit, one that many people underestimate because it seems like a minor detail: skipping medications or taking them at the wrong time. If you take medication for blood pressure, cholesterol, or blood thinning, this part is absolutely critical. Blood pressure follows a natural daily rhythm called circadian variation. In healthy individuals, pressure drops during sleep in what is medically known as a dipping pattern. But in many adults over 50, this drop doesn't happen correctly. Or worse, blood pressure actually rises at night. This condition is called nocturnal hypertension, and it is one of the most dangerous and underdiagnosed cardiovascular threats facing older adults today. Large studies published in The Lancet have shown that properly timed medication can reduce nighttime heart attack and stroke risk by nearly half. But missing doses or taking medication inconsistently throughout the week allows silent blood pressure spikes to occur during sleep. These nocturnal spikes can rupture unstable fatty plaques that have built up inside your arteries over decades. They can trigger the formation of clots that travel directly to the heart or brain, and they almost always strike without any warning symptoms whatsoever. By the time you feel something, the damage has already begun. I've treated patients who forgot their medication several nights per week, telling themselves they would double up the next morning. One of them suffered a massive stroke overnight. He survived, but he woke up with permanent paralysis on one side of his body. His life changed forever because of an inconsistency that seemed small at the time. Medication timing is not a minor detail you can adjust when it's convenient. It is a matter of life and death. Always discuss the optimal timing of your medications with your doctor and never skip doses under any circumstances. Now let's talk about the third deadly nighttime habit, one of the most underdiagnosed killers in adults over 50, undiagnosed or untreated sleep apnea. Sleep apnea is a condition that causes repeated involuntary pauses in breathing during sleep. These pauses can last 10, 20, or even 30 seconds at a time. Each pause causes oxygen levels in the blood to fall sharply. Each drop in oxygen triggers an emergency physiological response inside your body. Your heart speeds up suddenly. Your blood pressure spikes. Stress hormones, including adrenaline, flood your cardiovascular system. This chain reaction can happen dozens or even hundreds of times per night, and most people who suffer from it have no memory of it happening. They simply wake up exhausted, not understanding why they never feel truly rested. Large-scale studies conducted at major universities around the world have shown that untreated sleep apnea triples the risk of nighttime heart attacks and quadruples the risk of strokes. These are not small statistical adjustments. These are transformational increases in risk that should alarm anyone who recognizes the symptoms. And the warning signs are often hiding in plain sight. Loud, chronic snoring that has been present for years, waking up suddenly, gasping for air, morning headaches that seem to have no clear cause, extreme daytime fatigue even after a full night in bed, blood pressure that is difficult to control despite medication. One of my patients thought her snoring was simply an inconvenience for her husband. She had no idea it was a sign of something far more serious. One night, her oxygen levels dropped so critically low that her heart rhythm became dangerously unstable. She survived because emergency help arrived in time. But treatment transformed her life completely. Her energy returned, her blood pressure became manageable, and the terrifying risk she had been living with unknowingly was finally under control. Sleeping on your side can help reduce apnea episodes modestly, but it is absolutely not a substitute for proper medical diagnosis and treatment. If you recognize any of these warning signs in yourself or someone you love, speak to a doctor immediately. And now, as dangerous as these habits are, the next one is even more common because many older adults adopt it on purpose, genuinely believing it is the healthier and more responsible choice. That's where the real danger lies. Something that feels like good judgment can quietly cost you your life. The fourth deadly nighttime habit, going to bed dehydrated. After the age of 50, the physiological sensation of thirst becomes progressively weaker and less reliable. Your body may desperately need water without ever sending you a clear signal that you're thirsty. Many people also deliberately limit their water intake in the evening, specifically to avoid waking up during the night to use the bathroom. On the surface, this sounds reasonable and practical. In reality, it is an extremely dangerous pattern that significantly increases the risk of cardiovascular catastrophe during sleep. While you sleep, your body continues to lose water through respiration and perspiration. If you already go to bed even mildly dehydrated, your entire circulatory system enters the night at a serious physiological disadvantage. Here is precisely what happens inside your body. When you are dehydrated, your blood becomes measurably thicker and more viscous. Thicker blood flows more slowly through your arteries and veins. Slower moving blood has a much greater tendency to form dangerous clots. Now combine this with the natural physiology of sleep. During the night, your heart rate slows and your blood pressure drops. If your blood is already thick and slow moving at the same time, circulation to the heart and brain can become critically and dangerously reduced. This is exactly why dehydration significantly elevates the risk of ischemic strokes and nighttime heart attacks in older adults. A study published in the Journal of Cardiovascular Disease found that even moderate dehydration raised the risk of nighttime cardiovascular events by more than 60%. That is not a marginal difference. That is a profound and life-altering increase in risk caused by something that could be prevented with a single glass of water. I remember a 70-year-old patient who proudly told me he never drank water after dinner. He believed he was being disciplined and proactive about his health. One early morning, he suffered a stroke during sleep. Brain imaging revealed a clot blocking a major cerebral artery. His blood was found to be unusually concentrated and viscous. Dehydration had played a direct and significant role in what happened to him. The solution is not complicated and requires no special equipment or expensive supplements. Drink a full glass of water 1 to 2 hours before your intended bedtime. Use the bathroom immediately before lying down to minimize nighttime disruption. Keep a glass of water on your bedside table and allow yourself small sips if you wake up feeling thirsty during the night. This single and simple habit helps maintain adequate blood viscosity and flow throughout the night, meaningfully reducing the mechanical strain on your heart and brain during their most vulnerable hours. Now let's discuss the fifth deadly nighttime habit, one that almost nobody connects to heart attacks and strokes because it seems so trivial and unrelated: sleeping in a room that is too hot or too cold. Your bedroom temperature has a direct, measurable, and significant effect on your cardiovascular system during sleep. When the room is too warm, your body must work continuously to release excess internal heat. Blood vessels near the skin dilate widely. Your heart rate increases to support this cooling effort. You lose meaningful amounts of fluid through perspiration throughout the night. All of this elevates cardiovascular stress and prevents the natural stabilization of blood pressure that healthy sleep requires. Research from Harvard Medical School demonstrated that sleeping in rooms warmer than 24 degrees Celsius or approximately 75 degrees Fahrenheit significantly increases nighttime cardiovascular risk in older adults. The heart simply cannot rest properly when it is being recruited to manage thermal regulation simultaneously. But extreme cold carries equal and sometimes greater danger. When ambient temperature drops sharply, blood vessels throughout the body constrict as a protective mechanism. This vasoconstriction increases vascular resistance, meaning your heart must pump against substantially higher pressure with each beat. In older adults whose arteries are already less flexible and more prone to disease, this additional mechanical burden can be the final physiological trigger for a heart attack or stroke. European cardiovascular data has shown consistent and sharp increases in nighttime cardiac events during cold weather periods, particularly among adults over 60. The correlation between temperature extremes and nocturnal cardiovascular mortality is one of the most consistent findings in environmental cardiology. The optimal and protective sleeping temperature range falls between 18 and 22 degrees Celsius, which corresponds to approximately 65 to 70 degrees Fahrenheit. Within this range, heart rate remains stable and consistent throughout the night. Blood pressure regulation improves significantly. Sleep architecture becomes deeper, longer, and far more restorative. This is not simply a matter of personal comfort or preference. Temperature control during sleep is a form of active cardiovascular protection that costs nothing and requires only awareness. Now that you fully understand these 5 deadly nighttime habits and exactly why each one places your heart and brain at serious risk, let me give you something far more powerful and actionable: a complete protective nighttime routine that you can begin following starting tonight. A routine built on the science of circadian cardiovascular protection. At 7 p.m., Eat a light and early dinner. Center your meal around lean protein, cooked vegetables, and easily digestible carbohydrates in moderate portions. Deliberately avoid heavy fats, excessively large portions, and foods high in sodium. Finishing dinner by 7 p.m. gives your digestive system more than 2 hours to process the meal before sleep begins, allowing your heart to enter rest mode without competing demands. Also, at 7 p.m., drink a full glass of water. If your physician has prescribed nighttime medications, take them precisely as directed. Do not delay, skip, or adjust the timing without medical guidance. Consistency in medication timing is one of the most powerful tools you have for protecting your cardiovascular system overnight. At 8 p.m., transition into calm and low stimulation activities. Gentle walking around your home or neighborhood, quiet reading, soft music, or peaceful conversation are all ideal. Deliberately avoid emotionally activating content, intense screen exposure, and stressful mental engagement in the hour before you begin preparing for sleep. Emotional arousal elevates cortisol and adrenaline, both of which destabilize nighttime blood pressure. At 9 p.m., begin preparing your sleep environment with intention and care. Adjust the thermostat or open a window to bring your room into the optimal temperature range. Place a glass of water on your bedside table within easy reach. Dim all lights throughout your home to signal to your brain and body that sleep is approaching. Darkness and reduced light exposure naturally trigger the release of melatonin and support the healthy transition into the protective phases of sleep. At 9:30 p.m., complete your final bathroom visit for the evening. Empty your bladder as fully as possible. Brush your teeth. Take any final medications that have been prescribed for bedtime administration. Make sure your sleep environment feels calm, comfortable, and free of distractions or sources of stress. By 10 p.m., you should be in bed and ready for sleep. Your position matters more than most people realize. If you snore regularly or have reason to suspect you may have sleep apnea, always sleep on your side with proper support for your neck and head. Sleeping on your back increases the likelihood of airway obstruction and apnea episodes significantly. If you wake during the night for any reason, move slowly and with deliberate care. Sit up before standing. Give your circulatory system time to adjust to the change in position. Take small, calm sips of water if you feel thirsty. Avoid sudden movements that could trigger a dangerous drop or spike in blood pressure. This structured nighttime routine, when followed consistently, has been shown across multiple clinical studies on circadian blood pressure management and sleep safety to reduce overall nighttime cardiovascular stress by more than 40%. That is not an incremental improvement. That is a transformational reduction in risk achieved through simple behavioral changes that cost nothing. Let's take a moment to clearly summarize the 5 habits that silently and preventably kill during sleep. First, eating late, heavy dinners that force the heart to work overtime through the night. Second, skipping or mistiming critical cardiovascular medications. Third, living with undiagnosed or untreated sleep apnea that batters the heart and brain hundreds of times each night. Fourth, going to bed even mildly dehydrated, thickening the blood and increasing clot formation risk. And fifth, sleeping in environments with poor temperature control that either overburden or stress the cardiovascular system throughout the night. Each one of these habits alone is genuinely dangerous. Together, they create a perfect and deadly storm inside your body during the hours when you are most vulnerable and least aware. The truth I want you to carry with you is both painful and profoundly empowering. Many nighttime heart attacks and strokes are not acts of fate. They are not random. They are not inevitable. They are preventable. You do not need expensive treatments or dramatic lifestyle overhauls to begin protecting yourself. You need accurate information, consistent awareness, and the willingness to act on what you now know. If you are over 50, tonight matters more than you may realize. The changes I've described are not difficult. They do not require sacrifice or suffering, but they do require you to begin now, not next week, not after your next doctor's appointment, tonight. Your heart has worked without pause for every single day of your life. It has never asked you for anything in return. What it needs from you now is the simple act of protecting it while it rests. My name is Dr. Michael Turner. I've dedicated my career to helping adults over 50 live longer, healthier, and more protected lives. Sleep should be the most healing and restorative part of your day. With the right habits in place, it will be. Take control of your night starting right now. Your heart, your brain, and everyone who loves you are counting on you to do exactly that.